I'm Mike Adams, and this is a brand new episode of Mike Adams Football, where we're going to talk about all of the new NFL rules that have been approved this week, and then I'm going to assign a grade for each of these rule changes, so here we go. There's a new NFL kickoff rule where the NFL is essentially adopting the XFL's kickoff rule from last year. According to an ESPN article by Kevin Seifert, during the 2024 season, kickers will continue to kick from the 35-yard line, but the other 10 players on the kickoff team will line up at the receiving team's 40-yard line. At least 9 members of the return team will line up in a setup zone between the 35 and 30-yard lines. Up to 2 returners can line up in a landing zone between the goal line and the 20-yard line. Okay, so you got it. I know that all sounds complicated. Basically, nobody moves other than the kicker and the returner until the returner touches the ball or the ball lands in the landing zone. Here's some other key notes, though. Kickoffs that hit the landing zone must be returned. Kickoffs that hit the landing zone and then go into the end zone must be returned or downed by the receiving team. If downed, the receiving team gets the ball on the 20-yard line. Kickoffs that go into the end zone and stay in bounds that are downed would give the receiving team the ball at their own 30-yard line. Kickoffs that go out of the back of the end zone give the receiving team the ball on the 30-yard line. So in simple terms, a touchback, unless it landed in the landing zone first, but a touchback that goes straight into the end zone or out of the back of the end zone, receiving team gets the ball at the 30, not the 25. Kickoffs that go short of the landing zone are treated the same as a kickoff that goes out of bounds, so the receiving team would actually get the ball at the 40. So if a ball doesn't make it to the landing zone, if it comes short, then the receiving team gets the ball at the 40. Okay, what about the onside kick? The way it works now is that the kicking team has to declare an onside kick, and you can only onside kick in the fourth quarter. So there's no surprise onside kicks, and it can only happen in the fourth quarter. And then the other new thing about the onside kick, it's kind of a new old thing. The kicking team's allowed to put 6 players on one side and 4 players on the other side, the way that they used to a few years ago before the NFL said you had to do 5 and 5. You can go back to doing 6 and 4, which I guess in theory means that we could see more onside kicks recovered, because there was more kicks recovered back when you had 6 on one side and 4 on the other side. On the flip side, because there's no more surprise onside kicks, we might see a few less onside kicks recovered. Overall, I give the kickoff rule a B+. Last year, only 22% of kickoffs were returned. The NFL had to do something about the fact that kickoffs result in a lot of injuries. I think this was the best compromise you could come up with. It was a pretty good way to keep the foot in football. Why can't I bring it up to an A? The onside kick rule is okay. I like that they're allowed to load up on one side of the ball again. They're allowed to do 6 and 4. I like that. But overall, I'd rather see them attempt a 4th and 20 from the 35 or wherever you're starting your kickoff from. I'd rather see them get to do a 4th and 20 and try and convert that way instead of an onside kick. I just think the onside kick's not that exciting of a play. The conversion rate is so low that it's just not that much fun. And yeah, for a 4th and 20, the conversion rate is similarly low, but it's just a more exciting play. I think it's kind of funny that the NFL took the XFL's kickoff rule without taking the best part of the XFL's kickoff rule, which was that you could go for a 4th and 15, or you could go for a traditional onside kick. The NFL has a new rule when it comes to challenges. Previously, the way it works is that NFL head coaches are given 2 challenges a game they can use before the 2-minute warning in the second quarter, fourth quarter. If they win both of those challenges, they earn a 3rd challenge. The new rule is that if you win either of the first 2 challenges, you get a 3rd challenge. I give this rule change a B-. I think it's a good rule change. I like a lot of aspects of it, but I just think it's still not enough. Everything needs to be reviewable. Everything needs to be challengeable. That's the rule change that needs to happen. Now, some of your football expert friends will say things like, well, if you make everything reviewable, these games will take forever. Why? You only get up to 3 a game. And it's not like coaches use all their challenges in games right now. In fact, in most games, coaches don't use 2 challenges. It is the most annoying thing when we see a replay and we see that the call was wrong. something was wrong, that whether there was pass interference, whether it was holding, whatever it is, we get so annoyed when there's a missed call, blown call, bad call, and the league isn't doing anything there's no reason for it not to be reviewable. There's no reason why we can't just use common sense and go, okay, we see on video that is clearly a holding penalty. They should be able to call a holding penalty. They should be able to get the call right. We need to make that an option. And if the NFL doesn't like the idea of making everything reviewable, you know what? Get more calls right, and it won't be a problem. You get the call right, coach doesn't challenge. The NFL has banned the hip drop tackle. Well, sort of. The NFL is banning the swivel hip drop tackle. According to an ESPN article, the new rule requires officials to note two actions: if a defender grabs the runner with both hands or wraps the runner with both arms, and also unweights himself by swiveling and dropping his hips and or lower body and landing on and trapping the runner's legs at or below the knee. This just sounds complicated. Look, I give this new rule a D. And most of my thought on giving this a D, I get why you want it out of the league. I get that it caused some serious injuries last year. Mark Andrews, big time injury, came from this play. I just don't trust refs to properly officiate this rule. These refs are missing basic calls. I mean, they're inconsistent with roughing the passer. They're inconsistent and straight up wrong a lot of times with intentional grounding. They're missing holding calls. They're calling phantom holding calls. Giving them something this complicated, I just don't trust them. I don't think they can handle it. And you know what? It's not even really the ref's fault. These are part-time employees. If they were full-time employees, you could spend a lot more time during the week with them, working with them, getting them together in a room, talking about the rules, making sure everybody's consistent. The league could be so much better with full-time employees, but for some reason, they're only part-time. And for that reason, I don't trust them. I don't think that they can handle this. I don't think they can handle determining what's a hip drop tackle, what's a swivel hip drop tackle. The NFL trade deadline is being moved from the end of week 9 to the end of week 10. I give this change an A+. Look, the concern with the trade deadline being later in the year, it affects competition, because if it's too late in the season, there are all these teams who know that their season's over, they're mathematically out of it, whatever it is. And so a lot of them dump their best players who are on like a 1-year contract or on the last year of their contract. A lot of those teams, they just dump all of their good players. It's a good opportunity to trade those players to teams that are winners and try and get some draft capital for next year, stuff like that. That affects competition and gets super weird if you do it too late into the year. Week 10 is not too late in the year. Week 10 is actually a pretty good point. At that point of the year, we're still only 55% of the way through the season. Most teams have no idea if they should be buyers or sellers yet. A few more might know. You know, last year by week 9, yeah, the Panthers knew that they should be sellers, not buyers. By week 10, maybe one or two other teams kind of has a feel that, hey, we should be buyers, not sellers. I just think this is a better opportunity for teams to assess where they're at while simultaneously not having a negative effect on competition. So I give it an A+. Thanks for watching Mike Adams Football. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Later.